All right, goal 7.4. We're going to be covering goal 7.4 and 7.5 today. Okay. Goal 7.4 talks about slope. The slope is simply a ratio that describes the steepness and direction of a line. Slope would be the same thing as the grade of something. If you've ever heard about something called the grade of the hill or something, that's the same thing as the slope. Slope is often referred to as rise over run. In that order, rise over run meaning the up or down compared to the left right. Okay? The slope of a line can be described in 4 different ways, or you have 4 kinds of slope, I should say. The one on the left, going up from left to right, that is a positive slope. The one that goes down from left to right is a negative slope. I should probably add the word slope to those. A line that's horizontal has a 0 slope. And the line that goes up and down is a no slope. So a no slope and a 0 slope are 2 different things. They are often mixed up. So your job now, if you remember from last class, we talked about special lines. And an X-only line was vertical. And now you need to associate it that that kind of line has no slope. Horizontal line was a Y equals. Now you need to know that line has a 0 slope. Okay, so here's a little trick to remember which one's which. So when you were just, last week and you were misbehaving at home and your parents go, no, no, no. Okay. Ah, see? What direction is my finger? My finger is up and down. They don't go, no, no, no.
That's perfect. Yeah, what do they point at you?
And then hit you? I don't know. That doesn't work. Okay? So 0 slope and no slope, definitely confused. Okay?
It's like corn.
So first formula that you need to know, memorize. It's very easy to memorize. Given 2 points that lie on a line, you can find the slope using the formula M, meaning measure of the slope, equals y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. The little 1s and 2s are not superscripts, they're subscripts, they're not powers. They just mean that you are working with 2 different x's and 2 different y's. I have no idea why they put the 2 before the 1, but it really doesn't matter. Just know that you're doing y minus y over x minus x. Okay? Now, that is often a confusing thing. So here's my little trick for that one. If this were like a tabletop, you can't have a y on the bottom because it only has 1 leg. So you have an x on the bottom to hold the table up. Got all kinds of little tricks here. Okay? So that is the other one of the other confused things that people flip those. Okay? So it's y over x. All right, so find the slope of the line containing the given points. Again, it doesn't matter which one you do first. If you've learned that if this is written second that you have to go 5 minus 0, that is not true because I can move these ordered pairs around. Okay? You're just taking one of the y's minus the other y. The key is starting with the same x then. That's important. So when I set up my formula, I have 0 minus 5 over, so y minus y, and then x minus x, negative 2 minus 1, and I get negative 5 over negative 3, simplify those negatives to positives, and I get positive 5/3. Leave it as an improper fraction. Do not change it to a mixed number. Do not change it to a decimal. So same thing in the next one. Y minus y, so 4 minus a negative 3 over x negative 3 minus my other x negative 2. Again, it doesn't matter which y you start with, just make sure you start with the same ordered pair x. My minuses become pluses, and I get 7 over -1 or -7. It doesn't matter if, when you're dividing by -1, if you make it an integer and not leave it a fraction. The fraction would be important in our graphing, which we'll talk about in a little bit, but you don't have to write it that way. Okay? So my next one here, I have 0 minus a -5, and I have 7 minus 7. So again, y minus y over x minus x. My minus becomes plus, and I get 5 over 0. If you punch 5 divided by 0 into your calculator, it's going to give you an error message. It'll say like undefined, or I forgot what it says. I think it says undefined or something. I'm just going to look because now I'm curious. Error, divide by 0. So you can't divide by 0, okay? You cannot divide by 0. So in this particular case, this means, and I would want you to go just one step further, that this is the line that has no slope, which means that it would be a vertical line. So 5 over 0 is no slope.
So 0 over 5b.
0 slope, correct. Okay, so my next one, and this is just, again, it's like plug and chug. Plug the numbers in, know your formula. Y minus y over x minus x. So I have -8 over 3. Does not reduce, does not simplify. And then my last simple example here. Y minus y over x minus x. And I get 0 over 6. And again, if you get a 0 in your numerator or denominator, I want you to go that one step further and let me know that that's either a 0 or a no slope. In this case, it is 0. If you punch 0 divided by 6 into your calculator, it tells you 0. And then that would be a horizontal line. So again, going back to when we talked about special lines last class, please mentally connect. X is a vertical and it's no slope. Y is horizontal and it's a 0 slope. Okay, connect those pieces of information. Okay, we can also use this slope formula to find a missing value in a coordinate if you're given enough information. And we are in my examples. So given that we have these two ordered pairs and that the slope equals -5, my m value is -5, I want to find the value of that r. I want to find the value of that variable from that ordered pair. Okay? So I'm going to set this up using my slope formula. I'm going to take y minus y over x minus x. And that should come out to equal -5. They're telling you what it should come out to equal. It comes out to equal -5. So now you have to do the algebra. So that could be a problem. So let's do this together. First of all, my minus becomes plus. So then I end up with 10 over -2 minus r equals -5. If there's not a fraction there, like this one, -5, I would put it over 1. Because your method of solving, the easiest, the fastest way to solve it, is to do cross multiply. So 10 times 1 equals 10. And -5 times the quantity, -2 minus r, gives me 10 plus 5r. So I'm distributing. I'm taking -5 times this quantity. So that's a positive 10 plus 5r. And then I solve that equation. So subtract your 10 0 equals 5r, divide by 5, and r is 0. Some questions on that solving there. Okay, we'll set the next one the same way. I'm going to take my y minus y, so 2 minus 3, over my x minus x, r minus 6, and this should come out to equal 2/3. So do my calculation, 2 minus r is a negative 1. Over r minus 6 equals 2/3. To solve, we're going to cross multiply. Negative 1 times 3 is negative 3. 2 times the quantity r minus 6 is 2r minus 12. And we solve. So we're going to add 12 to both sides. 9 equals 2r. Divide by 2. And r equals 9/2. Or if you have 4.5, that's fine. Because it's a good decimal. Yes?
Okay, I got the last one, the one above it. I got a different answer. I got r equals 4.
What did I do?
Yeah, because you messed up the negative signs.
Did I?
No, he did, I think.
Well, I put the y sub 2 minus y sub 1.
Okay.
So I had negative 4 minus 6.
Yeah, it's negative
Over.
10.
Yeah, over r minus 2.
R
So-
minus the negative 2.
Okay.
Yeah, I did the same thing, and I'm like, wait a second, and then I'm like, how'd she get 0? I'm like,
Okay,
oh.
and my last
Got
one?
that on camera, Jack.
I'm going to take
Oh.
y minus y, so r minus 2 over 7 minus 5, x minus x, equals 2/5. So my 7 minus 5 is 2, equals 2/5. And I cross multiply. 2 times 2 is 4, equals 5 times the quantity, r minus 2, 5r minus 10. Solve for r, add 10 to both sides, 5r equals 14. R equals 14/5. Or 2.8 is fine. Okay. Some questions, especially on these last 3.
Are you not able to do it, like, I mean, could you do it mentally, or would you have to do that possible?
Yeah, I guess you can. If you can. It's easier when it's an integer and not a fraction.
Yeah.
The value of r is an integer.
That first one.
14
Yeah.
fifths.